It's been reported in numerous media outlets, including boxingnewsonline.net, which is what I'm reading from. British champion Sam Sexton defends against Hughie Fury live on free-to-air TV. Sam Sexton versus Hughie Fury sees the British heavyweight title back on free-to-air for the first time in nearly 7 years. Hennessy Sports, Infinitum and Channel 5 are proud to announce that their prestigious British heavyweight title fight will return to terrestrial TV. Let's see. So, let's start with the headlines here. Number one, Hughie Fury's back. That's a positive. I was a bit concerned that he would fall into a period of substantial inactivity following the defeat to Joseph Parker. That's good. Hughie Fury's working with Mick Hennessy. You know, that was an interesting one. There's been various references to the Tyson Fury promotional situation and who Tyson Fury would be working with. So it's interesting that Hughie Fury is still with Mick Hennessy. And it's interesting that Mick Hennessy still has clearly some sort of arrangement, or potentially it's a new arrangement, to be working with Channel 5 in order to be broadcasting this show via their channel. So a few bits of breaking news there. I myself am pleased to see Hughie Fury back, and I'm pleased to see him back in a British heavyweight title fight, because I think if he were to win this fight, and we'll come on to it in a second, it creates a few more interesting opportunities for him. You know, I've speculated in this channel before that after the loss to Joseph Parker, it would be very hard for Hughie Fury to come straight back into the world title scene. My honest opinion was that his risk-reward didn't add up. He didn't bring too much reward. He's the guy who lost to Joseph Parker. He doesn't have too much personality. He doesn't, you know, create too much hype around his fights. But he's a real risk because of his style, his awkwardness, his trickiness, however you want to phrase it. So I thought the risk-reward of Hughie Fury may not add up in terms of getting him another world title shot. But having him at British level makes things a bit more interesting, because if he was to win this fight, you know, there's a lot of fighters who are good fighters and, well, you know, fighters of a, you know, decent standing in terms of their name around that sort of level right now. Joe Joyce, Daniel Dubois, Nathan Gorman, Nick Webb. You know, you could throw Derek Chisora into the mix. Maybe you could throw David Price into the mix. Maybe you could throw David Allen into the mix. Now, for me, at this point, Hughie Fury is more proven and probably ahead of all of those guys that I mentioned. But these are the good kind of fights for him that will help to build his profile, to help make him more of a fan to the casual boxing fans, and probably propel him back towards that world title shot that he was in his last fight. As for the actual fight itself, you know, Hughie Fury versus Sam Sexton, in my eyes, is not a competitive fight. I'm yet to poll opinion on my channel as to how people see this fight going, but I would make the bold prediction that very few people, if any people at all, would be picking Sam Sexton to win this fight against Hughie Fury. You know, I don't think there is too many ways you could actually make a case for Sam Sexton in this fight. Sexton, he's coming off a win against Gary Cornish, and whilst that was a close fight, I think he definitely deserved to win. He has got a few losses in his career. He was stopped by David Price, stopped by Derek Chisora twice, I believe. So he's got 3 losses in total, all of them by KOs. 24 wins, only 9 of them by way of knockout. I guess his peak wins are Gary Cornish last time out. He won the prize fighter tournament, where he beat the likes of Martin Rogan earlier on in his career, etc. So, you know, he's a fighter who's there or thereabouts. But to me, if you look at him in terms of skill, in terms of power, athleticism, he doesn't really have. For me, British title is probably an overachievement for Sam Sexton. You know, he's not the kind of British title holder who you see going on to European honours or, you know, even higher, something like that. So Hughie Fury, for me, is going to have a real substantial advantage in the fight. However, for me, it isn't good enough for Hughie Fury simply to go into this fight and to win and to become British champion. We've seen countless Hughie Fury fights before where he's sort of drifted through the fight at distance, used reins, picked with the jab, and won lopsided 12-round decisions, where he's kind of looked like a sparring partner. Hughie Fury needs to come out and make a statement in the fight, and he needs to do that for 2 reasons. Number one, he needs to show that he's learned from the defeat to Joseph Parker. I've stated on this channel before, I believe he ought to have won that fight. I believe that's what Hughie Fury also believes. Having said that, in hindsight, looking back on it, regardless of whether he deserved to win or not, Hughie Fury could have done a lot more in that fight. And he perhaps only has himself to blame that he didn't commit to his punches a bit more, set his feet a bit more, and look to ram home the advantage he appeared to be creating. Essentially, there were times in that fight he was too negative. There were times in that fight that he allowed there to be debate and judges' discretion as to who won a round. And I want to see that he's learnt from that, because we don't want to see that costing him again in his career. Also, we need some interest in Hughie Fury's career, despite the fact that that Parker fight became a relatively well-known fight. Unfortunately, it probably did more to kill interest in Hughie Fury's career than to generate interest. He didn't come across like an entertaining personality. He didn't come across like an entertaining fighter as to what's in the ring. And, probably it's sad to say that even after a performance that he believed was a world title winning performance, he's probably left in a position where his awareness with the public and his interest levels with the public are potentially at an all-time low. So he's got to come out and make a statement. He's way above Sam Sexton. What we don't want to see is him just glide around a ring, not get punched for 10 rounds, just spar and chip away at Sam Sexton and break him down with the jab. What I want to see is Hughie Fury go through the motions a bit more, change gears a bit more. I want to see Hughie Fury looking for the stoppage. Every time Sexton's lost, he's been stopped. I want to see Hughie Fury stop him. I want to see Hughie Fury come forward. I want to see Hughie Fury dominate it. I want to see Hughie Fury commit to more punches. Developing that jab so it becomes more of a Klitschko battering ram type jab, and throwing some of the power punches he has. Even in that Joseph Parker fight, you look at some of the uppercuts Hughie Fury landed, you look at some of the power punches he threw. These were sublime punches. The issue was he was throwing one every 2 rounds, and he wasn't really committing to them. Against a guy like Sam Sexton, who I believe is so many levels below Hughie Fury, I want to see him fighting a more offensively minded fight. I want to see him looking to commit to his work a bit more and looking to get his opponent out of there. If you leave decisions in the hand of the judges, then there's a higher risk that you lose fights that you feel you should have won. Now, Sam Sexton, for me, hasn't got anything like the offence to come and win 7 rounds of Hughie Fury, but the judges believe that Joseph Parker did. In fact, I think one of the judges believed that Joseph Parker won 10 rounds of Hughie Fury. So there you go. Hughie's got to do more to make sure that doesn't happen again. And he's got to take his game to a place where there's kind of less debate as to whether he's winning rounds, and there's more certainty as to whether he's winning rounds. So I think it's a fair comeback fight. How old is Hughie Fury? I'll just have a look now. I think it's a fair comeback fight. He's still only 23. He's still a baby in terms of heavyweight boxers. He's had 21 professional fights. And he's going to come back. He's probably going to win the British title, and he's going to put himself right back in the mix. In heavyweight boxing, you're only ever one fight away from, propelling yourself into superstardom. And, let's hope that by winning this fight, he can put himself in with some bigger and better names. Let's hope that it can be used as a springboard to get back to the higher levels of the sport. And, obviously being on Channel 5, last time he was on YouTube pay-per-view, which seemed to be a broadly unpopular decision. Let's hope that having him on terrestrial TV, having him on Channel 5, will allow more people to watch him and allow those of us who are interested in seeing Hughie Fury, to continue following his journey and to continue seeing his progress. But for me, the key test will be, has he made adjustments? Has he learnt off the back of that Joseph Parker defeat? If he goes into the fight thinking he was robbed by Joseph Parker and all he needs to do is continue doing the same thing over and over again, I'll be disappointed. What I want to see is some recognition that if he did more, there may be more rewards for him. And I want to see him go through the motions against a guy like Sam Sexton, who really poses a very, very limited risk to Hughie Fury from a skills perspective. That's my take on it. Let me know your thoughts, guys. How do you see this fight? Am I overlooking Sam Sexton? Is there anyone out there who's picking Sexton to win? Do you have interest in seeing Hughie Fury? Am I right that interest levels have dropped subsequent to that Parker fight? Let me know your take. Please leave your comments in the section below either way. As ever, if you've enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up button. If you're new to the channel, you haven't already done so, please press subscribe so you can check out all of my other stuff. There'll be sure to be further video on this fight as we approach the fight day. I believe that's scheduled for sometime mid-May. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. As always, appreciate you guys watching my content.